I had no idea that a simple walk through the park that evening would change everything. It was a chilly autumn night in Melbourne, the city lights reflecting off wet pavement from the light drizzle that had started hours earlier. People passed by, laughing, talking, completely absorbed in their own worlds. And then I saw her. She was sitting on the edge of the old fountain, hugging her knees tightly, shivering slightly, not just from the cold, but from something heavier, something unseen. Her face was hidden behind her hair, wet strands sticking to her cheeks, and her shoulders trembled with silent sobs. I froze, my heart skipped a beat. We had been friends for years, yet I had never seen her like this. There was a vulnerability, a quiet desperation that pulled at something deep inside me. I didn't know whether I should approach or give her space, but the longer I stood there, the more I realized this was a moment that couldn't be ignored. As I stepped closer, the faint sound of her sniffles became clear. Each step I took seemed amplified by the echoes of my own nervous heartbeat. The park, normally alive with laughter and chatter, felt like it belonged to her tears alone. I remembered our childhood, how we used to run through these same paths, chasing leaves in the wind, laughing so hard we fell to the ground. But life had grown complicated. University pressures, family struggles, social walls. Slowly we had drifted apart, and here she was, alone in the middle of a city park, as though the world had forgotten her existence entirely. I hesitated a few feet away, my shadow stretching across the wet pavement. "Hey, are you okay?" I whispered, trying not to startle her. Her body stiffened. She didn't answer. Instead, she buried her face deeper into her knees. My heart ached. I could feel the weight of her silence pressing down on me. I sat down on the damp bench a few feet away, giving her space but keeping close enough that she could hear me if she wanted to speak. Minutes passed. The drizzle grew heavier, but I didn't move. The world faded. All that mattered was that she wasn't invisible to me. I wasn't going to let her feel unseen any longer. She finally raised her head slightly, just enough that I could see her tear-streaked face. Her eyes were swollen, but the pain there was not just physical. It was carved deep inside. She whispered, barely audible. I've been hiding this from everyone." I leaned closer. "From me too?" I asked softly. She nodded, a single tear rolling down her cheek. "I didn't want anyone to worry. I thought I could handle it on my own." And then she began to tell me. Every word cut me in ways I didn't expect. Anxiety, depression, the feeling of being trapped in her own mind. Nights she couldn't sleep, days she couldn't face anyone. Moments of despair she couldn't share. She felt invisible, unheard, forgotten. I listened without interrupting. There were times when I just held my breath, letting the silence speak louder than words. The occasional sniffle, the tremble of her hands, the way she looked at the empty fountain. It all told a story that words alone could never capture. "I didn't want anyone to see me like this," she said finally. "I thought if I showed my pain, I would be a burden." My chest tightened. I reached out slowly, placing a hand near hers, careful not to overwhelm. "You could never be a burden to me," I said. "I'm here, always." For a long moment there was only the sound of rain, dripping from the trees, pattering on the wet leaves, and the faint hum of the city around us. Then she whispered something I will never forget. "I thought no one would ever understand." At that moment, I understood the immense courage it took for her to let someone in, the bravery it took to whisper her pain into the night. And I knew, with absolute certainty, that this moment, sitting here together, sharing the secret, would change both our lives forever. We talked for hours, not just about her struggles, but memories we had shared, dreams we had abandoned, laughter we thought we had lost forever. She laughed occasionally, a shaky laugh at first, then stronger as the night progressed. I could feel the tension in her body slowly melting away, replaced by something fragile but hopeful. At one point, she looked at me and said, "I've never felt like this before, like someone actually sees me." My own throat tightened. That one sentence encapsulated everything, the isolation, the fear, the relief, the bond that was rekindling right here, in this cold, rainy park. I told her a story from our childhood, one that she had completely forgotten, how she once fell into the creek, and I had jumped in to pull her out, soaking wet and freezing but laughing the entire time. She remembered, giggled, and said, "You were always there." "And I always will be," I replied. The rain had stopped by now, but the park felt alive in a new way, as if it had been waiting for this moment too. The shadows, the empty benches, the flickering lights. Everything seemed to witness the healing of a friendship reborn. We finally stood up. I offered my hand and she took it. Simple as that. One hand holding another, a connection stronger than words. And as we walked out of the park together, the city lights reflected on the wet pavement, warm and golden. That night, the park had become a sanctuary. Not just for her pain, but for hope, courage, and the reminder that sometimes the smallest act of being present can change everything. The days that followed were different. She smiled more, laughed more freely, and the weight she had carried for so long seemed lighter. Our friendship was renewed, stronger than ever. And every time I walk past that fountain, I am reminded of that night. How a quiet evening, a simple presence, and the willingness to listen can change a life forever. Not every hero wears a cape. Sometimes a friend who simply listens, who simply shows up, is the hero someone needs. And that night I understood that. I understood the power of empathy, courage, and connection. That one night in Melbourne, in a quiet park under city lights, reminded me of something everyone should remember. No one is truly alone. Not if someone cares enough to stay. Stories like this happen every day. They remind us of the beauty of human connection, the importance of noticing someone in need, and the courage it takes to share your truth. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to Echoes Under Down for more cinematic, emotional, and real stories of hope, courage, and human connection. And remember, sometimes being there for someone is the most powerful thing you can do.